Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Finally, we have the latest and seemingly the last Mission Impossible movie, at least the last one starring Tom Cruise. He says he wants to be making movies till he's 100, and I believe him. He's been doing all these crazy stunt and action sequences, in he's in his 60s now, so it's absolutely crazy. It's been a long journey, probably one of the longest franchises, not the longest, but it's been a film franchise that's lasted over 25 years, safe to say. The first Mission Impossible movie came out in, I want to say 97, 98, something like that. I could be wrong, but either way. It's been a not only has it been a long franchise, but I feel like most people would agree this is one of the most successful franchises, at least action, movies that we have in film history. Because I think other than the second one, starting from the third particularly, the first one's really good. Second one, everyone, was kind of either 50-50 on, or most people would agree to say that that one's the worst one. And then from the third one onward, it's safe to say, and most people would agree, that it gets better and better and better. Up until Dead Reckoning, people were really excited for it and they really enjoyed it. And while some people found the ending a little cliffhangery, and it is one half of a story, since this one and Dead Reckoning Part 1, they both make one complete storyline. So you only got one half of a whole. So that might be the only reason why people might not like that one so much. But for the most part, everyone loves Mission Impossible. A lot of people love Tom Cruise starring Ethan Hunt, risking his life to entertain us as he has for, so many years. And I've been a very big fan of these movies. I really like these movies. I feel like this franchise, especially starting from Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, Christopher McQuarrie, who's been the director for the past 4 films, including this one, The Final Reckoning, he's directed half of the franchise now with Tom Cruise. Not Tom Cruise directing, but they've been in partnership, and they've had a bit of they've cracked the code. They've perfected the formula, not only with just Mission Impossible movies, but action movies and what they should be. An all-star cast led by a movie star of the likes we haven't seen in a long time, and Tom Cruise is kind of regarded as one of the last movie stars in general, like a face and a name that people will pay money to go and see in theaters no matter what he's in. And he does some of the craziest things and has a lot of talent. He is a really good actor. He's not just a guy who can jump off skyscrapers and walk off crazy crazy stunts in submarines and planes. He's a really good talented actor. Mission Impossible, all these movies, they have incredible score. They have sleek and unique style and directing, and all this combined, you have something very special, something you don't see a lot, with the slew and nonstop, spewing of action movies, like to the point to where they all feel the same. They all, kind of just feel like nothing, like a nothing burger. But that is, my point saying is that this franchise, this movies are special. So I had high hopes for this movie, The Final Reckoning. And I think, just to start off, I want to be completely honest, I was a bit disappointed with this one. From the get-go, from the very beginning, I can tell that something was a bit off. And, I don't mean to be nitpicky from, the first few moments of a film. I need to let it, say a few things and, do a few things before I start to formulate my own response. But from the beginning, I've already felt, a bit disagreement, and that is from the opening sequence. And I don't mean the title sequence, but I feel like Lorne Balfe, and I want to start with the music. I want to talk about the music to start off the episode. Lorne Balfe has been the composer for the Mission Impossible franchise since Fallout, and I really like his style. I really like how he's composed the Mission Impossible theme, and implementing his own you know, his own themes and his own leitmotifs that we hear throughout the franchise. I feel like if you were to distinguish his sound from any other Mission Impossible composer, it would be like percussion. He is really big with percussion and the drums, and like I feel like if you were to play the his themes of Mission Impossible, you'd recognize it. It's like and it's like a slow build up. Um, then you hear that little piano leitmotif that you hear in the past three films. So his style is very not unique, but it's very prevalent and it's catchy. So you recognize it. So he's tied with the Mission Impossible franchise as much as Christopher McQuarrie has. So you feel very, warm and it feels recognizable, and they go hand in hand with each other now. But as I had discovered, Lauren Balfe is no longer with the Mission Impossible franchise. He wasn't able to work with this film. They substituted him with two other composers, I believe. So, and that's how I could tell there was a difference, because there wasn't a really big build up to the intro. It's just like, oh, we're starting. We're just getting right into it. So, it still has the iconic theme of Mission Impossible, and it still uses the themes that Lauren Balfe has written for the past three films, but it feels, very, actually, no, past two films. Christopher McQuarrie directed the past three films. Lauren Balfe directed Fallout and Dead Reckoning. So sorry if I'm going to be using a lot of those, specifications to talk about who's been collaborating with who in the Mission Impossible films. But there's 8 of them now, so there's so many of them, and we've had so many people cycle through these films, and a lot of people who've stuck around for the journey for a long time. So Lauren Balfe, his absence is very noticeable. I feel like the movie in general doesn't have that musical identity that it's had for the past, 2 films. And I really love movie scores. So whenever a movie has a very impressive score, I start listening to the soundtracks almost like a day after I watched the movie. So nothing really stuck out to me in this one, and that was really upsetting. A lot of people really don't pay attention and don't go to the movies for the movie scores, the musical scores. But for someone who does appreciate them, I'm really gonna miss him, and I wish he had stuck around for this final Mission Impossible movie with Tom Cruise. But I guess scheduling conflicts happen. Um, that being said, the music was, they just, like I said, they used the same themes that you heard in the previous films, but again, nothing to praise about. So from the very beginning, I can tell that there were some troubles that I was already a bit worried about getting into this movie, and I feel like it's safe to say that the whole chunk of the first act is my main problem with this film. Um, Editing is the biggest thing I'll point to in what I have issue with this film. More specifically with how the scenes are organized and how the shots are composed and how the fluidity of the choreography and the action flow through the scenes, and how just jarring it is for me, because I feel like this movie was edited by a completely different person. But again, as soon as I left the theater, I had to check online who edited this, because it felt very different from what I've been seeing for the past 2 to 3 films. And it was edited by the same person. I don't know exactly what their name is, but it's edited by the same person. But I just got a different vibe, and I just don't know exactly what happened. The editing feels jarring. It feels, not unprofessional, but very like tacky in some moments. There's a moment where like Tom Cruise like hits a guy, and then it gives you like a flash of white. I don't know. It just feels we've never seen that before. So I'm like, okay, that's an interesting choice. And then when you're going through the action scenes, um, you have a hard time of telling what exactly is happening or where the characters are on the set, on location. So it really doesn't flow well, and it feels a little disjointed. And but the biggest issue is one of the biggest issues is implementing the constant usage of um, of flashbacks. This movie it is the final movie, so there's a lot to catch up on, a lot to recap on, and the way they do this with the exposition, telling us what we already know, but there are some people who'll be walking into this movie who have never seen a Mission Impossible movie. So I don't blame, the executives or whoever, the director, whoever is in charge. Again, the editor. I don't blame them for not even the editor, because the writer could have done this in a different, could have handled this burden by explaining the things that have already happened and the things that have happened in previous films. But I guess they decided to just show us flashbacks. I mean, actual just full on clips of things that happened. There's a message from a character addressing Ethan Hunt, like, "Yo, Ethan, it's been a while. We need you to come in. You've been in trouble, but we appreciate all the things that you did." And it just starts playing this, like, a bunch of clips from, like, all the Mission Impossible movies. I'm like, cool, I really like those movies, but I don't need to be seeing them. Um, I really don't need to be seeing them, because, like, me as a Mission Impossible fan, I don't need you to uh, walk me hand in hand like a baby. Like, I don't need to be led by a movie to, like, understand what's going on, because we're 8 movies in. I feel like movies that, like, have, like, a finale storyline don't often do this. Like, Avengers Endgame or Avengers Infinity War don't really do this. They do this with small lines, like, "Oh, hey, I'm this person. Here's what happened. Oh, this is this person. They've done this for the past blah blah blah." Or, "All right, guys, let's do the blah blah blah. Remember, we have to." I mean, I know that can be seen as lazy writing sometimes, but I'd much rather prefer that than what we got here, because it was just flashback after flashback after flashback, showing us clips from movies and showing us clips from the movie that we just saw beforehand, Dead Reckoning, which is the first part of this storyline. So that doesn't happen in the first 20 minutes, but we keep seeing that a little bit by bit later on. It kind of stops after the second act begins, but this first act is full of it. And to finish off talking about this first act, because it has, like, I have most of the issues with this film in that it's slow. It has little to no action. So it's a bit of a drag, in my opinion. So, and the reason why that's such a problem, because this is a long movie. It's over 2.5 hours long. I think it's 2 hours 50 minutes long, minus 10 minutes if you want to take out the credits. So 2 hours 40 minutes long. So the first act is about an hour long. So when your first act has a lot of these editing and pacing issues and jarring action sequences, when it does have action sequences, which is little to none, you're in for a really rough ride, and you're asking your viewers to really just sit in there through a lot, because Mission Impossible movies aren't really known for the engaging dialogue and, like, the intricate plot lines. So you're asking a lot for us to wait and to have us sit through all the exposition and all the setup before we get into the real good stuff. Not saying that Mission Impossible movies haven't had good storylines and good plot, but they go 50-50. They have to kind of work with each other to really get a movie going. But before we move on, to cap off, my biggest issue in this first act is how they place the scenes throughout this entire first act. For example, and this isn't really a spoiler, but where we left off in the previous film, Ethan has this crucifix key, has a key to open a vault chamber in a sunken submarine to access the AI, because if you don't remember, or if you're just watching this review without having watched the movie or the previous movies before this, there is an enemy AI called the Entity, which has been self-aware and has been threatening to infiltrate, intelligence servers, internet, manipulating images, and is now placing a threat of nuclear destruction on the world in order to protect itself. But the government, the U.S. government specifically, wants to control it. Gabriel, which is a proxy villain that the AI hired to protect itself, Gabriel wants to now control it, and Ethan wants to destroy it. Ethan did a little battle on a train with Gabriel. Gabriel failed. Ethan fooled him. Now has the keys, and Ethan and the gang have to go find the sunken submarine somewhere in the Arctic Ocean so he can destroy the AI, which is known as the Entity. So Luther, who has been a long partner of Ethan, uh, is like the tech savvy guy, the computer guy, and he's one of Ethan's closest friends throughout these films. And he's created something called the poison pill. Essentially, you stick the poison pill into whatever hard drive the entity original source code is in, and it'll kill the entity. But first, Ethan meets the way you see this entire, sequences. Ethan meets Luther. Hey, it's been a while. We cut to something else. Luther says, "Oh, Ethan, something, something, something. That something spoiler. I don't really want to talk about it." And then we go into the next scene, and then we jump back again to Luther and Ethan saying, "Hey, Ethan, I'm handing you this poison pill. This is to do blah blah blah." And I feel like they do that like 3 or 4 times in total, but it's like really disjointed and like it just throws me off, and I have a hard time since it's giving you so much exposition already. I have a hard time figuring out what's happening, when it's happening, and what exactly I'm supposed to be focusing on. And it's just a really big mess to me, and I just don't understand why they made that decision to structure this first act the way it was. So, like I said, not only is it pretty long, um, it's really messy editing wise. There's not a lot of action. So, I was really worried and really put off. So I just don't know what happened with that. But moving on, the second act is really where we really kick things off, where I feel like the movie finally gets to begin. Ethan now is able, who's been let go by the U.S. government after he turns himself in, has to go find the submarine, and in ways that avoids using the internet. So him and his gang have to use analog technology that doesn't involve the internet because the AI can basically use anything connected to the internet or anything, modern. Which is cool and creates some tension and creates cool ways to communicate. That is to say, the some things that I did like about the second act. A lot of the cast. Tramell Tillman, I want to say. Hold on, I gotta pull up the cast list because there are some pretty cool cast members. Yes, I was correct. Tramell Tillman shows up in this movie, and I'm a pretty new fan of his because I love The Severance, and he one of my favorite highlights of that show. And seeing him in this was really, he's really cool. Like he feels like a character that I can get on board with, and he's also an actor that if I ever seen anything moving on from now, I'll be like, yeah, it's that guy. It's Mr. Milkshake, or I mean that's an inside joke. I mean Mr. Milkshake, of course. This has Nick Offerman. It has the guy from Mindhunters. What's his name? Holt McCallany. Holt McCallany. Has the guy who played Kittredge. Angela Bassett returns. She's now the president in this movie. So we have a pretty stacked cast. I mean, that could be overwhelming, but I didn't have a problem. I like seeing those guys on the screen. Ethan has to find the submersible. Sevastopol is the name of the submarine. And the way he does this is he has to do a really deep dive with this gear, but mind you, it's like 500 feet in the cold Arctic Ocean. So even though a lot of this sequence, the submarine sequence, Ethan trying to retrieve this AI code involves a lot of CGI, it's still really impressive because he did a lot of it, is still on camera, and it's Tom Cruise, trying to do as deep of a dive as he can, which is really impressive. And that entire sequence, again, not a lot of action, is really tense, and I really do like it. It's quiet in a lot of moments, and it's one of the best parts of this movie, and it just reminds me a lot of the cool, impossible things that Ethan has to do in the movies, to complete his task. And I really like it. This is one of the moments where you kind of just suspend your disbelief on how exactly possible this really is, but I was along for it. I really didn't care. And I know, as I'll nitpick a few things about the movie and about some of its elements, this is one of the things that I kind of don't care because it's entertaining me. It's razzle dazzling me with the over the top Tom Cruise and his stunt that he's doing. Um, uh, some other things. What else? Yeah, the third act was pretty good too. Like, I hate to go this chronologically, but this movie had a lot of good things. Um, the biplane sequence is really entertaining. Both that sequence and the submarine scene are worth the price of admission, despite what I say about this. I really do think this is like, it's just really fun to watch. Tom Cruise, hanging off a plane, and like really, there'll be some moments where like, oh, that's gotta be CGI, but like the way you can tell by like the way the wind is like hitting his face and his hair, you're like, oh my god, he's literally hanging off that thing, and it's going like 100 miles an hour, 100 plus miles an hour. I don't know how fast planes go, but regardless, you're like sitting there and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna die. It's really crazy. Um, but it's really, I like seeing Simon Pegg as Benji. Benji is like one of my highlight characters. Probably like other than Tom Cruise, like he's probably my favorite character in the Mission Impossible franchise. Haley Atwell's there. She's like the pickpocket and the recent hire that Ethan asks her to join the IMF so she can help out with this, and he believes there's good in her and she's capable of a lot of good things. So now she's along with the crew. Um, um, okay, that's pretty much all I want to say. Other than I want to get into spoilers now, so this is your official spoiler warning. Go watch the movie if you haven't, or if you really don't care, you can go ahead and join me with a spoiler discussion. But here we go. Um, while it might seem abrupt, and while I was a bit confused why Vin Rhames' character, Ving Rhames is his name. Sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister. But the way they handled Luther's character, while some people might have issues with it, um, they do kill him off. And I think that's, it's smart. It's a smart way to build tension and to create stakes. Um, but I was just weird. I guess he was sick for some reason. I don't remember catching I don't exactly remember what was the reason why, he's kind of bedridden and he's being nursed. Maybe I guess there's something about the actor that I don't know about uh, that he's not able to move around so much. I'll have to look that up. I don't know exactly what his situation is, but it does feel like a Leia situation. Like she's not doing a lot because the actress passed away. I mean, in this case, Vin Rhames hasn't passed away yet. Um, but it's like one of those moments. I'm like, why are they uh, keeping him uh, so like restrained from like moving around or like keeping him contained in like in this one specific area because it doesn't really go anywhere else in the rest of the movie. Obviously, they do kill him off, but like he doesn't really do any. He doesn't go anywhere other than that room and like another room in like underground chambers. So I was just a bit confused. I'm like, why is he sick all of a sudden? I know he was got to head off to do his own thing and figure out a way to create the poison pill, which is to destroy the AI. Um, but you know, it was sad to see him go. Um, so that does happen. I just wished it was that entire set of scenes was a bit more clear, so everything can move more fluidly. By the way, how does Gabriel? I feel like Gabriel is like just has unlimited access to like nuclear bombs because like he traps Luther in this prison like chamber. Um, so Luther has to stay behind to dismantle this nuclear bomb, otherwise like go off and blow London. But he disarms it enough to where the trigger just blows up and just collapses the tunnel, the underground chamber. Um, and then like later, Gabriel like at the very last in the third act, where like the gang finally having attained the AI and goes to like the South African high tech server room so the AI could like hide itself. That sequence. Uh, Once again, Gabriel has like a bunch of nuclear bombs like that's gonna blow up unless they disarm it, so that way Gabriel can get away. I'm like, I was under the impression that Gabriel had all this because because he had the help of the AI because originally he was working for AI. But in this movie, as they explain, Gabriel has failed the AI, so basically he's been outcasted. So I'm like, where are you getting this? I know you're a super villain, but like, where are you getting these bombs? It's one of those things that you really shouldn't care about, but at the same time, because they do it twice, like Gabriel's like, haha, here's a bomb. I'm off and away now. It just felt like, okay, where are you getting these things? If you're gonna do the same thing twice, where are you getting them? But I digress. Um, what else? Yeah, I guess I wish they would have used a better way of using Gabriel because I was already kind of unimpressed with him as a character in the previous film as much as I liked Dead Reckoning Part 1. Um, he felt like a too one dimensional in this one. Um, Again, the main enemy, I guess you want to say, is the AI since it is the one with the threatening to blow up the world, uh, nuke the entire world. Um, but Gabriel just wants to take control of the entity because I guess he wants to ensure his survival, but he also just I guess he just wants to do bad guy things with a super powerful AI tool. Um, so I was just at this point he was a very nothing villain, and I know villains are not really the highlight of Mission Impossible movies, other than the third one. He really can't top Philip Seymour Hoffman and his performance in the third movie, which is my highlight of that film. But you know, um, he did kill off Rebecca Ferguson's character in the previous film, so I wish he was built up or just written a bit more, cooler or more threatening or just better than what we got in this film because he does meet a grim death, but it just was a bit like, oh, he's dead now. I mean, I wish Ethan really could have just found a way to just make him suffer a bit more because he killed off Luther, he kills off um, what's her name, Ilsa Faust. Gabriel kills off Ilsa. Um, he injures, Paris, which is Palm Clementif's character. She's also a new favorite of mine. I really liked her in this film. She is pretty great. I feel like she had like a lot of the humoristic moments in this movie because this movie is pretty somber and has a really grim tone because it has the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. So it's pretty serious. This isn't as funny as the previous um, uh, Mission Impossible movie. I mean, I know they're not comedies, but like they're known for their quippy lines, and especially with Benji, I really like him as a character because he's kind of the um, comedic relief. Uh, but there's some good action sequences in the second and third act to kind of reward you for like uh, having to sit through the first act. Um, but it's just all in all, this movie was really entertaining in the end. But I was just really surprised at a lot of the choices um, in the first act. And then again, I wish they could have done something about the villains because not only is Gabriel a bit, meh, uh, the AI ended up just being a ticking time bomb rather than like they hinted at the AI like manipulating images and like causing panic and widespread chaos throughout the world, and convincing some followers to like retaliate and like create protests and like you see some followers of the AI, of the entity, trying to kill Ethan or trying to stop the president from saving the world. Um, but it no longer becomes an AI that threatens, the way we perceive information and the way intelligence operates. It just becomes another villain, another faceless villain uh, that just wants to blow up the world because it wants to. I know it wants to do that because it's saying like if I can't survive normally, if I can't have control of the world, then I'm just going to blow everything up and then just hide myself in a super secret server room. Uh, a lot of that, is really complicated and wishy-washy. But I didn't really have too much gripes with it because I was just in for the action by that second and third act. Really impressive stunts, but a lot of the first, since again, like I said, it's a really long movie. So your first hour of the movie, when it's as bad as it is, in my opinion, you know, it's going to bring down the score a lot, and it's going to bring down the pacing and the momentum of the film. You know, you really can't start until the second act, and you know, that's not a good thing. Um, that yeah, this I just wish this movie as a whole could have stuck the landing better, because even though Dead Reckoning was a part one movie and it was technically incomplete, it had a beginning, middle, and end. It had a clear momentum and it had a clear action spread throughout. It had a very um, it had one voice in the way it was told and the way it was edited and the way it was structured and everything. It was a high paced, entertaining action film, and then this one took a more serious tone, spent a lot of the first act with exposition, and when you just have a bit of the action, yes, you have the things that you care about. You want to see Tom Cruise doing some crazy stuff, but when the writing's iffy and you kind of just in for it, you just have like a very okay movie. You have a good movie, better than most. A very low tier Mission Impossible movie is better than a lot of the stuff that you see in Hollywood today. God knows there's way too many of them, as I said before. I feel like this franchise and John Wick are like the only action franchises to stand the test of time. And, you know, this doesn't exactly ruin the franchise, so to say. I just feel like it could have stuck the landing better. That way I could have left Mission Impossible as a franchise on a more happy note, so to say. But go watch this movie. Um, if I were to give this movie a rating, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I want to say a 3 out of 5 stars is my rating for this movie. If you're doing the math, it's like Edgar, 3 out of 5 is 6 out of 10. That's a failing grade by my math. That you're thinking about high school grades. I think a 3 out of 5 is still could be an entertaining movie. I feel like 2.5 is where I draw the line. I was like, this is really bad, but someone will enjoy it. And 3.5 is a movie that I do enjoy, but I probably won't go back watching, you know, because I really want to, unless I'm doing a marathon, which I probably will do in the future. If I do see this on TV streaming, I'll probably give it a watch, but I won't look back on this one as fondly because it's a 3 out of 10. I think it's like my second. I'm gonna rank the Mission Impossible movies. Um, Mission Impossible 2, everyone agrees that's the worst one. And I gotta say, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, this one is probably my second to least favorite film in the Mission Impossible franchise. But the gap is like huge. I mean, Mission Impossible 2, I really don't like, and it has a lot. Like, it is not good in my opinion. If you do enjoy that movie, I mean, that's your cup of tea. But the gap between that one and this one is really far between. So that being said, still a pretty good movie, but that's my second to least favorite. And then you got Mission Impossible, the first one, really good film, pretty solid, just not my cup of tea compared to the other ones. Mission Impossible 3, directed by J.J. Abrams, that one's pretty high octane, that one's really fast paced. I personally like that one more than the first one. Then you got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which is the first part of this storyline, which is the previous one before this. And then you have Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and then Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and then Mission Impossible Fallout. That's my official ranking of this franchise. What did you think? I could be completely wrong. I know I'm already seeing that there's a lot of people, you know, who do really love this movie and don't really care about the things that I talked about and just want to see Tom Cruise do some crazy action stuff. But I know I'm not the only one. I've been seeing also some people saying that, like, you know, this one's a bit of a drag in the beginning, or just not really liking it. But I did like it. You know, don't be disparaged. Go watch this movie. I feel like people should go support movies like this because a lot of work is put into them. Tom Cruise is doing the most to entertain you, entertain us as an audience, and man, does he deserve all of our attention, all of our money, because he is one of the last movie stars, period, in the history of Hollywood. Not just history, right now. He deserves it. Go watch it on the big screen. It was filmed for IMAX. Go watch it on the IMAX screen if you can. And if you did like it, if you didn't like it, if you agreed with some of the things that I did say, or if you disagree, leave a like or not, and leave a comment below. I had a fun time with this. I know I said a lot of negative things about it, but I will be going to watch this again, not only because I want to really sit in with the I really want to sit with the movie again and try to experience it again to have a good time, but also my parents want to go see it. So I'm going to watch it again, and you bet your ass I'm going to watch it on the IMAX screen, because that is the true way to watch it, because some of those sequences, just every time the screen expands a little bit more, I'm like, yes. Yes. like, um, you know, but like I said, it has its ups and downs. It has some low lows and some pretty high highs. But that's my review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Tom Cruise, I'll be watching anything you put out in the future, so I will be looking forward to that. As for my next movie review, I don't know exactly what I'll be watching. I know Karate Kid Legends, or I don't know what the new Karate Kid movie is called, but the one with Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. That could be promising. I don't know exactly if I'll be watching that. I'll probably be reviewing probably the Ballerina movie, the John Wick spin-off series. So look forward for one of those reviews in the future. My name is Edgar Palacios. This is Watch That Movie, the podcast where we talk about and reviews movies. Click a like, click subscribe if you want to look forward for more movie content. On YouTube, I just posted some exclusive content there of me trying to guess movies based on one or more movie frames. It's pretty fun. Go check it out. Please support the channel. Please support the podcast on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts on. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.